different, but we're not talking about those kind of cells, not yet at least. All right? So that's the all or none principle of skeletal muscle cell contraction. All right? So a single muscle cell, when it is stimulated, will always generate the same amount of tension every single time. But we can change that. How can you make a skeletal muscle cell contract harder? I'm going to show you, and that's what this is. So under normal conditions, that's what happens. If you manipulate the conditions, like they're doing here, now you can cause a graded contraction. Now you can make the contraction harder. Now you can generate more tension. And there's a way to do that. I'll tell you the way that it's not going to happen. A bigger stimulus. A bigger stimulus will not do it. Can you have a bigger action potential? Is an action potential all or none? Yes. So do you have little teeny weeny action potentials and great big action potentials? No, they're always the same size, at least as far as you guys know. All right, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but we're not going to go there, okay? As far as you know, action potential size is always the same, so a bigger stimulus is not going to make a bigger action potential. It just isn't. So that's not the way to get a stronger contraction in a muscle cell. Instead of a bigger stimulus, instead of changing the magnitude of the stimulus, you change the frequency of the stimulus, meaning what? You stimulate the muscle cell really, really fast in a short period of time. You increase the frequency of the stimulation, and I'm going to show you that. That's what this picture is right here. All right, so we're going to take this picture, those words, and we're going to draw it, and I'll explain it to you as we do. So once again, we have one single muscle cell, and we're going to make it contract harder by manipulating its environment. Okay? So we're going to draw the same thing, except we're going to expand the time scale. All right, so that's time. This is tension once again. The time scale is going to be expanded, so the twitches are going to look a little skinnier. All right? And I'm not going to worry about lag phase because I just don't care about this right now. Okay, no tension. We're going to excite. It's going to contract and then it's going to relax. And we're going to allow it to fully relax, by the way. What we just did there is exactly what I drew here, exactly what we drew there. It's the same exact thing. I've fully allowed the calcium pumps to take calcium back up into the SR. I've allowed this thing to fully relax. And we're always going to generate the same amount of tension if you do that. All right, we'll draw one more time. We're going to stimulate right there. What's going to happen is we're going to get the exact same tension. All right, so I have yet to tell you how you increase tension. That's what we've already done. Now we're going to manipulate this muscle cell and make it generate more tension by stimulating it in a different way. How are we going to do that? Well, if you notice, when it comes to these arrows, that's indicating where we're stimulating. And they're far removed from each other. We've allowed this muscle cell to fully relax. We can see that. But if we don't allow this muscle cell to fully relax, if we can keep the calcium in the sarcoplasm for a longer period of time, a phenomenon occurs that causes the muscle cell to contract harder. It's because of the elastic properties of the muscle cell. There's a phenomenon that has a name that I'm not going to say because I don't care about it. All right? I just want you to know why this happens. All right? So we're going to stimulate, stimulate, stimulate really fast, like 3 seconds or 3 times in less than a second. That fast. Okay? Here, it was maybe once a second. We gave that muscle cell plenty of time, all right, to relax each and every time. Here we're not. So boom, boom, boom. All right? This is what happens. More tension. And the higher the frequency, the greater the tension. I'm going to explain to you why. And it goes back to what we talked about in detail on Wednesday. Tension's going to go up even further now. Okay? The higher the frequency, the greater the tension. And again, I'll explain that to you in just a second. If you keep on stimulating the muscle cell and you just don't stop, you'll get the greatest amount of tension that can be generated by that muscle cell, and it has a name. It's called tetanus. Okay? So tetanus is the point at which a muscle cell is generating the greatest amount of tension. Why? Because you won't stop stimulating it. The frequency is continuous. Just boom, 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 boom. Okay? Why is this happening? Are we releasing more calcium when we increase the frequency? Are we going to release more calcium? No, we can't, right? Because when calcium is released from the SR, all of it is released, so we don't get more calcium. That is not what's happening here. What's happening here instead is that we're keeping the calcium in the sarcoplasm for a longer period of time. So let's go back to our picture. Every time we excite this muscle cell, calcium gets released, right? And then immediately what happens? The calcium gets pumped back up into the SR, right? Now, this is key to this, and this wouldn't happen unless what I'm going to write down occurred, or is. Calcium channels are faster, for lack of a better word, it's a nice descriptive word, than calcium pumps. What does that mean? That's key to what we're seeing when we're generating more tension. What it means is that when calcium channels open, they're going to move more calcium faster than a calcium pump can move the calcium back into the SR. The release of calcium is way faster than the calcium being pumped into the SR. So, every time we stimulate this muscle cell, we open those calcium channels. These calcium pumps are trying desperately to lower this calcium in the sarcoplasm. That's their job. But if these calcium channels are dumping calcium faster than the calcium pumps can pump it back in, will the calcium levels be higher for a longer period of time when we increase the frequency? Yes. When we stimulate this muscle cell, release calcium, release calcium, release calcium, each and every time. And the calcium pumps, again, try to pump it back in, but they can't do it as fast as the calcium channels dump it. So the calcium concentration here remains elevated this entire time. And an even longer period of time here. And an even longer period of time here. The longer you keep the calcium in the sarcoplasm, the longer troponin will be bound to calcium, the longer tropomyosin will be moved out of the way, the longer cross bridges will be formed, and the more ratcheting you're going to get. It has to do with the elastic properties of a muscle cell, of the myofibril. These are things I doubt that lecturers here talk about because it's usually graduate level stuff. We're not going to talk about it. But there are elastic properties with those proteins. There are a lot of other proteins that we haven't even talked about. There's way more than myosin and actin and tropomyosin and troponin. There are a lot of other proteins in there. And it's their elastic properties that allow this particular phenomenon to occur. We're not releasing more calcium. We don't have any more. All we're doing is we're keeping the calcium in the sarcoplasm longer. I'll give you an analogy. Typically it works. The calcium channels being open, that's a hole in a boat. The calcium pumps, that is you bailing the water out of a boat because there's a hole in it, okay? Let's say the hole is small. There's a hole in the boat. You can easily bail all of that water out of the boat. You can easily get all of the calcium out of the sarcoplasm and allow this muscle cell to relax. Hole in the boat, you got rid of all of the water because you're just, at that point, don't need to be fasting. Now the hole just got bigger, or there are more holes. Now you can't bail the water out of the boat quickly enough. Water's starting to build up in the boat. Water's starting to build up in the boat. Your boat's flooded, you're gonna sink. All right, you're done. So much water got dumped into the boat, you couldn't bail it out fast enough, now we're in tetanus. Okay? Calcium pump's job is to bail the sarcoplasm of calcium. Calcium's channel's job is to dump the calcium into the sarcoplasm. And the calcium channels are simply faster than the pumps. That's just the way it is, okay? If this weren't the case, if pumps were faster than channels, this phenomenon would not exist. You with me? So when it comes to what we're seeing here, what's the key? Calcium being high within the sarcoplasm for an extended period of time. We are elevating calcium for longer and longer periods of time. You just keep on activating the myofibrils. The longer you can activate a myofibril, the harder the muscle cell is going to contract. Okay? It's a cool phenomenon that occurs. All right? Are we good? Does that make sense? It has to do with the channels and the pumps and how one is faster than the other. And again, it's all about frequency. We are increasing the frequency of stimulation, not the size of the stimulation, the frequency of the stimulation. And what's the stimulation? Its action potential. That's what it is. Okay? Are we good? Yes. All right. So this picture is this picture. Now there's some things I don't care for you guys to know. I don't care. I don't care. First three lines I care. I just stated the first three lines about 10 seconds ago. Increasing the frequency, not the magnitude, increases tension. How? Calcium continues to be released with each stimulus. The myofibrils are continually activated. All right? I don't care about this. Don't worry about it. Then when it comes to tennis, I don't care about these two lines either. I care about the first five. I don't care about the last two. I want you to understand what tennis is. All right? I don't care if you are able to equate the lag phase and the contractile phase and the relaxation phase to any other, to this specific material. Okay? Are we good guys? All right? Now what? Now let's talk about a whole muscle. What time do we have? Okay, let's not move to the front before we take a break. Contractile response to the whole muscle. That was one muscle cell. Now we're not going to take one muscle cell. Now we're going to take a whole muscle. Bicep muscle, quadricep muscle, gastroc, doesn't matter. Just a muscle. Okay? And we're going to talk about the twitch of a muscle. Contraction and relaxation. Before we get to that though, we need to talk about a motor unit. What's a motor unit? We're going to draw one. Actually, we're going to draw a few. So this is a whole muscle right here. And again, name this, whatever muscle you want that to be is what that is. All right? And we're going to put muscle cells in this muscle. So your muscles are made up of individual muscle cells. All right, so each of those lines represents, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Let's just make it simple, just one muscle cell. Although that's complete folly because your muscles are made up of tens of thousands of muscle cells. Okay? So again, that could be a bicep muscle, whatever muscle you want that to be. That's a whole muscle. Now, each of those muscle cells must be controlled. Each of those muscle cells must be innervated. Each of those muscle cells must synapse with the lower motor neuron. So that's what we're going to draw now. We're going to draw lower motor neurons controlling that muscle cell. We're drawing the somatic nervous system again. Brainstem, cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral. I'll say it's the bicep muscle, so I'm going to come out of the cervical region. So we're going to have a single motor neuron here, that's the cell body. Here's the axon, and that axon is going to synapse with that muscle cell right there. All right? The axons, as you guys well know, branch. So not only is that axon going to synapse with that muscle cell, it's going to synapse with that one as well. And it's also going to synapse with that one. So those three muscle cells are controlled by that one motor neuron because that axon branched and controls all of these